Welcome to Faith Talks Wood podcast. I'm Will from Flat Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast talks about everything from Jesus to joinery and everything else in between as well. Tom, have you ever used a tool not for its intended purpose, but it worked out fantastic for what you planned?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I use a wrench as a hammer or the back of a screwdriver as a hammer. Or, just depends on what I got with me when I'm on the job site.
Yeah. So getting the mower ready for mowing season. I've already mowed once this year. My first mowing, I'll mow without sharpening the blades or put new blades on or whatever. And if I go over any little sticks or anything, it's crappy blades and they'll do that. And so I'd mowed and then I needed to change the oil on the mower. And so went out yesterday, Sunday, and was out there getting to change oil. And I have a zero turn. And it has a hose that comes down with a drain plug on the end of it. That way, easy for you to drain out the oil in the mower. And I remember this happening to me last year. I, for the life of me, couldn't get that stupid thing loose. I couldn't get the brake free. I sprayed WD-40. I did all the stuff, and I got where it's located at. I couldn't get anything too crazy big down there, like a breaker bar or anything, because you have to put, you've got one end you have to hold with a wrench, and then you get the other end, because otherwise it's just a tube. It'll just twist. And so I'm messing with it. I'm like, I can't get enough leverage on this thing. And so I think, what do I have? I've got Bessie clamps. The grip strength of a Bessie squeeze clamp can grip up to 400 pounds or something crazy. And so I put picture two wrenches together, kind of at an angle, one on the drain plug and then one on the, kind of the other end of it. And I took the Bessie clamp and I clamped the two together to bring them together to break loose that nut. And it worked great. I need to be sponsored by Bessie is what I'm saying. But yeah, so got that. And then today I worked from home today. I work from home one day a week, and my lunch hit. I went and ate lunch real quick with the family. And then I went out on my 1 hour lunch. I got all three blades taken off the mower, sharpened, and put back on the mower and put the mower away.
Wow. That's impressive, man.
Well, when you have a system and know how to do it, you can, get it done pretty quick. And I've got a cordless angle grinder. And so I just had them out there and I'd clamp them down. I don't put anything crazy on them, but I get them nice and sharp, flatten the back out, put the bevel back on it. And yeah, so it was a pretty productive day. And then we were outside, ate dinner on the picnic table because it's so nice out. And so.
Very nice, man. Yeah, the weather here is absolutely beautiful. I've been outside all day measuring and marking for the new fence that I'm going to build and put in, and got a lot of landscaping and some French drain I got to do. So,
what kind of fence are you going to put in?
It's powder coated metal.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
is it like a garden fence or?
Yeah, just like a residential fence.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. Typically we do the powder coated aluminum. That's what I did back in North Carolina for most of my clients. But for some reason, the price of aluminum is more expensive than it's like 30% more. And so,
Yeesh.
Yeah, and they keep the metal in stock here. So that's what I'm going to go with. On a budget.
Nice.
It'll last plenty long enough.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Very good. Well, before we get into today's guest, just want to say thank you to the Patreon supporters. Thank you guys for all you're doing over there. And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/Faith Talks Wood. We really would appreciate that. Another thing is this October, we have a retreat, and it's going to come hang out with Tom and I for a weekend at a church camp up here in northwestern Pennsylvania. If you're interested in coming to that retreat, go to faithtalkswood.com/retreat. All the information is there, and we'd love to hang out with you all. And without further ado, Tom, who do we got on the podcast today?
So look, everybody knows one of my favorite tools in my shop is my scroll saw. I love to scroll saw, and I would probably say for a couple years now, I have been watching her YouTube channel and following her on Instagram. And so I'm very excited today to have Danielle Wendell from Wendell Woodworks on. Danielle, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about
Hi,
yourself.
thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I'm Danielle Wendell, and I've been married 13 months this month for May, so that's coming up. 13 months, is that what I said? 13 years, that's what I meant. I'm nervous. I have two girls. They are 7 and 9, and we are situated in Northeast Ohio. So we've kind of made a home here. We really like our community here and involved in our church. I get to help lead worship team, which is fun. And then I'm here because I love the scroll saw like you do. And that's kind of my tool of choice. And yeah.
Now, what do you do on worship team at church?
So I play the keyboard and sing.
Yeah.
And actually, yesterday, my husband, I just said we've been married for 13 years, surprised me by saying, "Hey, I can join you and play the cajon," which is like the box drum.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In my head, I was like, I've never heard him play. And like, I was nervous because I was like, what if he comes and they can't actually play and he's not good? Then what am I going to do? Because I'm like leading and I can't say to my husband, that's not good. And, I was so nervous. But then he shows up having never played it and was actually really good. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. And
That's
so
awesome.
it was fun because we found something that we can actually both do together, because we were just saying, we're just so different, opposites attract. And so it's hard for us to find common activities to do together. And so now he can come play with me on Sundays, and
Yeah.
fun.
That's awesome. I played the cajon Sunday, Easter Sunday. We did like a laid back worship set with guitars and a cajon. And so if listeners know, I've been playing drums for 25 plus years. And so worship is like in my blood. That's all I've ever
That's really
played
cool.
is worship music. And so do you guys go to a smaller church then?
We do. It's a smaller church, and so we don't have like a lead worship pastor. We just have a lot of volunteers.
Same.
And so we're just kind of on rotation to lead, but it's so good because we still have so many gifted people with just such like humble hearts, just ready to offer what they have. And I really love leading because I'm not like incredible by any standards. And that's not self-deprecating. I just know my limits as a musician and as a singer, but I really love bringing people in. And I feel like that's one of my strengths, is being able to see the strengths in other people and like getting them plugged in and just like making things work as a team. I really love that. And just, having it come together. And there's not like the pressure for excellence. I mean, you can always strive for excellence, but it's not about performing, right? It's just about worshiping. And so there's just a great heart there. And so, that's been a blessing to me this year.
That's sure. What I love about being back where we're in a small church, small country church, and it's all volunteers and it's all, laid back. And when we were in Nashville, I mean, it was full production.
Ooh, yeah. A lot of pressure.
I played in front of thousands of people every weekend. And so I like the laid back, no click track, no anything, just worshiping. So quick question, and then we'll get into your testimony, because you got me on worship now. What's your go-to worship artist or song right now that you're loving?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. I listen to all of it. I love Maverick City, even though it's a little too maybe gospel-y for like our church congregation. So there's a difference between what I listen to and what we sing on church. And actually, so I have a friend, he plays the electric guitar and he's very gifted. And he came from Nashville before his family moved here. And he said that he got rejected from his church's worship team, which blew me away because I think he's incredible. But just that idea of Nashville, there's so many musicians and there's so many people trying to make it. So anyway, so he was, when they first got here, he was kind of hesitant. And we were like, you're amazing. Like, you're a godsend. Like, please come, please worship. But he just introduced me to a Christian artist called John Guerra, Guerra. So it's not like songs that you would worship to, but they're a lot of times he'll just sing the scripture or he'll sing
Right. Yeah.
more like poetic songs that I've been listening to this week that have been really good. But yeah, and yesterday we sang the song Jesus, We Love You from Bethel, which is just super simple, but just easy to sing. And that's been in my head for the last week. Honestly, my girls are probably tired of it because it just gets stuck in your head. But it's just a repeatable line to have in your heart. So
absolutely. Yeah. My favorite worship team is actually out near Tom. It's Red Rocks Worship.
Oh yeah, they're good.
I love. They just put out a new album, and I can't get enough of it. It's on repeat for me.
Yeah.
So
my favorite is Cody Carnes. Anything Cody Carnes puts out,
he's good. You can't go wrong. Brandon Lake.
That's my mom's favorite. That's for sure. He is.
Brandon Lake. Elevation, Bethel. Here's the thing, and quick tangent, real quick, is that yes, some of the churches that are behind these worship teams are not the most biblically sound, but man, their music is edifying, and as long as you can stick to it and use it for worship, I think it's great. But yeah, there's a lot of good, and there is some bad. Tell us about your upbringing, your story. Tell us your testimony. Who are you, and what makes you tick for Jesus?
So I grew up in Indiana, actually, which was really the Bible Belt. I know your last guest, Chris, was also from Indiana, and there's a church on every street corner. And so I had Christian parents, grew up within the church, and I'm super thankful for that. But my faith was never really challenged at all. It was more just a cultural thing. I even went to public school, but I just felt like the majority of people went to church. That's where, my close friends were. And then I went to a Bible college in Knoxville, Tennessee, which I told you, a little Bible college. And again, that was just kind of, filling my environment with more people that were like-minded. And so I had never really questioned really what I believed before. And then my junior year of college, I did a study abroad program. And it was one of those few occasions in my life where I was like, this is something I'm supposed to do. Like, I feel like God is calling me to this. And I had never felt such a drive or like excitement about something. And it made zero sense with my major. No one from my college had ever even done it before. Because it's in the Middle East, Middle Eastern studies. That was not related to my degree. But it was one of those things on my heart. I was like, I am made to do this. And so I got accepted. And then the dean of that study abroad program actually told me, hey, I almost didn't accept you because you're from a Bible college. And students from Bible colleges are typically pretty black and white thinkers. And you might not be willing to embrace the culture or hear both sides or, ask the questions that you need to ask. And so I was a little offended, but I also took that as a challenge. I guess I need to make sure that I am representing my college well, but also maybe I really do need to make sure I'm showing humility here. And so it was based in Cairo, Egypt, which is a city of 90 million people. 90% of which are Muslim. So it was the very first time in my life that I was ever in the minority, really in any way, in how I looked or language and specifically religion. And I remember the host family I was staying with had a 16-year-old daughter, and she was the English speaker of the family. And one day she asked me, well, why don't you believe in Muhammad? Because everybody believes in Muhammad. And I had that moment of seeing, okay, we're so similar, seeing myself in her, in that she was brought up in this. So this was a cultural religion for her. And she believed what everybody else around her believed, what her family believed, what her friends at school, what her culture told her. And I was like, how's that different than me? That's exactly the belief system that I've was born into. And so anyway, all that to say, once I came home, I had to really ask myself those hard questions and kind of reevaluate, okay, why do I believe what I believe? And why do I believe that Jesus is the way or the truth and the life? And what does the Bible actually say? And so even though I had heard it my entire life, I think that was like the first time where, I started in the Gospels and I started reading with like fresh eyes of what does Jesus actually say about himself and who is he saying that he is? And so I think those 3 months really changed my heart and really made me who I am today. And just kind of relaunched my relationship with Jesus. And then learning, hey, this is different in some ways than what I grew up in church believing. And it's not always what the preacher is telling me. Not that, we can learn and glean from them. And, but like the reality that, hey, I can actually have access to God and I can actually hear from him without a mediator in between. And, and through the Spirit, and I can, lean into the truth of the scripture and let that be my foundation. And so that was probably one of the most influential things in my life that kind of brought me to where I am now in my faith. That's always growing. I think we always can keep learning. And every time you go back to the scripture, it's always like that, oh, maybe my assumption was off here. Maybe, I need to rethink this. So I'm really thankful for that. And yeah, that's kind of my testimony, I would say.
So what Bible college did you go to in Knoxville?
It was Johnson Bible College, and now it's Johnson University. They dropped the Bible.
I know Johnson.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm part of Church of Christ Church. Grew up Church of Christ. Yeah. And then one of my mentors was the financial, like over the financials at Johnson for years. Yeah.
Okay. And then is that Tim Wingfield?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he was over it, but he worked in the financial department. I know that, like financial aid, or he's an accountant.
Okay.
And then, so that's part of our brotherhood, sisterhood of, there's Johnson, there's Milligan, there's used to be Cincinnati Christian, that's gone now, Kentucky Christian.
That's where my husband went. Kentucky.
He's KCU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got accepted to KCU and ended up backing out of there.
Oh, okay.
Your husband and I probably have a lot of mutual friends because I know a lot of people that went there. And a lot of people from my church, and so
the hilarious. Christian church world is all kind of connected.
So are you guys part of a Christian church then now?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I would say yes, but I was actually just asking my husband this the other day because I was like, what denomination are we? Because it's just called Red Oaks Church, and it's a sister church of like other churches in the area, but it doesn't say Christian church. Right, you know what I mean? But if you go in, I feel like the theology is the same and kind of how it's run, but it is a little different in that there are like sister churches. It's not like completely independent. Yep. But I don't know where that comes from. If I'm being honest, I don't know. I'm like, it's not a vineyard. It's not I don't know.
What's wild?
I'll say it's a Christian church, but
yeah. What's wild is, we moved to Nashville, and everybody's like, oh yeah, church. So it's Christian Church, Church of Christ, right? The Restoration Movement. That's right. That's where we're from, part of whatever. But you go down Nashville, and everybody's like, oh yeah, Church of Christ is huge down here. I'm like, oh yeah, awesome. And I found out they're non-instrumental.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere down south. Like,
yeah.
It's wild. I'm like, what do you mean non-instrumental? And I remember going to one and talking to the pastor, and we believed all of our theology was exactly the same until you got to music. And I told him I'm a drummer, and he's like, oh, I love drums, but just not in church. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And so you actually have three different. You've got probably what you and I are from, Church of Christ, Christian Church, Church of Christ. And then you've got Church of Christ down south, and you've got the Disciples of Christ, which are kind of Indiana more
Okay.
Midwest. So anyways, I'm a theology nerd, and now you're talking the churches I grew up in. So
Yeah, it is so interesting because I had some Church of Christ friends that didn't believe in instrumentation within the church, and so it's interesting because there is something powerful sometimes about just hearing voices, and
right.
then there's no one leading, so it's like everyone has this equal participation within singing worship, and there's something beautiful in that. But I obviously love instrumentation. I think it's just comes down to a heart issue.
Right.
So it's just frustrating for me when people make it a salvation issue or like some deep theological.
So
it's just a preference. I think.
Not to age you, what year did you graduate from Johnson?
2011.
Okay, so you probably went to school with some of the kids that came. They were a camp team that came to my church camp.
Yeah. Oh, I bet I did.
Yeah, I don't remember the ones from Johnson that one year, but small world, small world. I'll have to tell some of my buddies like, oh, had somebody on my podcast who went to Johnson.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
really?
yeah. You know her? Yeah,
Well,
they went to Johnson. It's only 600 students, so we probably know each other.
Right. What was your maiden last name?
Wingfield. That's why I said, was
Wingfield.
it Tim Wingfield? Because my uncle actually worked at that college.
Oh,
and he was
wow.
over camp teams and so I had family down there. And so that was part of
That's
my connection to that
interesting.
college. But
yeah, I'll have to dig out some of the old people I know from Johnson, but kind of gotten off on a sidetrack. So
yeah,
you said
sorry, Tom.
you've been married for 13 years. How'd you and your husband meet? You guys meet at John's, or you said he went to KCU.
No. So yeah, my husband is actually about 8 years older than me. And this is so funny. I didn't even plan to say this podcast, but we had connections because he was actually the youth intern at my home church in Indiana when I was in the youth group. There was nothing untoward when I was in the youth group. But because of that, we went to the same church. We had the same connections. We knew a lot of the same people. And he, after being at my home church in Indiana, he launched a nonprofit called Active Water. And my senior year of college, I got involved with Active Water and I did like a bike trip. And that's when we reconnected. And so we dated long distance because I was in Tennessee and he was living in Michigan at the time. So we were completely long distance. And then the day I finished my master's, packed everything up, drove, we got married in Indiana because that's where our mutual connections were. And then I moved to Michigan because that's where he was living at the time. And so we were in Michigan for 2 years. We've kind of crazy long story. Then we did a cross-country trip for his nonprofit. He did like a 100-day run across the country. And so we lived in an RV for 3 months and then eventually settled in Ohio to have kids. And here we are today. So.
Okay. I'm an avid cyclist. Tell me about this bike trip.
Oh, mine was nothing. It was a bike trip across Indiana. And so good. I think we did like in a week. We took a week and we bicycled across Indiana. But the point was, hey, we're going to cycle this many miles. And so we use it as a fundraising for his nonprofit Active Water, which the point of it was, hey, use your giftings and your strengths to serve people with clean water. So it focused on like clean water projects. My husband was an endurance athlete. And so that's what he would use his athletic things for. Which is funny because he doesn't do anything athletic now outside of fishing, but he used to be a huge endurance athlete and bicyclist. So that cyclist, that was like the last time I rode a bike, but it introduced me to my husband. So it worked out.
Very cool. So tell us about how God's using you now. I know we talked about it a little bit before the podcast, but.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good question. I don't know. For a while, let me start at the beginning of how I got into this girl soul, if that's okay, because that's a whole long path and it'll take me to where I am today. But when we first got married, we really made like no money. He was working nonprofit. That's like passion work. And I was working in a school, which carried insurance, but didn't really pay. And we were trying to save or pay off my, school loans, and we wanted to save for a future house. And we knew that when we had kids, I wanted to be able to stay at home while they were little. We didn't know how we were going to do that. Well, one of the side hustles that we did all these different side hustles, which you can do when you don't have kids, right? You can just kind of try all the things and work different gigs. But one of the things I did was I started making book safes, which was I had worked in a library at college, so I had access to all of these like books that were being, just given away for free. And I had made one by hand. That's like where you cut out the inside of the books. And I did it with an X-Acto knife. So I did that, and they made like great gifts one year for Christmas. And then I was like, I wonder if there's another way I could do this that's not like I X-Acto knife, because that's just painstaking. And that's when I discovered the scroll saw, because I was like, oh, you can cut out the inside of a book. If I had a saw, that went up and down and could move it around. So we got this scroll saw, and that's all I did was just cut out books. And we did that until I had a baby, and I never wanted to cut another book again at that point. But that's how and Etsy wasn't as infiltrated back then, so it was much easier to sell, I feel like. And then God blessed it. It was successful. And so we did that. And then once I had my first baby and I was staying at home, which I was so thankful for, it was a privilege to do that, but it's hard. It's not, it wasn't very easy. And I really needed an outlet. Well, your wife probably experienced that, and I love her glassworking, by the way. But so during nap times, I'd kind of head out to the garage and tinker, and I had that scroll saw, and it was just like, what else can this thing do? Like, what else can it do? I've only ever cut a book. And then my dad had given me some of his tools. He had like a miter saw. He had given me an old miter saw, and so it was just like a tinkering, an hour here, an hour there, and finding ways just to be creative, just something I'd always loved to do, just making things, whatever medium that was. And then over time, I just learned more and more, and I tried more and more things, and was able to kind of branch out. And so now that both girls are in school, I can get to do that full time. I get to just head down to the shop during the weekdays for hours at a time, and listen to podcasts and listen, to this one while I work, which is awesome. But I was telling you guys, the start of my YouTube happened when we were living with my parents for a period of time. We had sold our house. We were in a place of transition because my husband was going to change jobs, but then the other job didn't go through. And we were in a weird place because we were living with the parents again, and we had 2 girls, and we were like, why are we here? Like, what is God doing? Because we felt such a peace about moving and selling our house at the time. And then plans did not go the way that we thought. And so, it was just this hard season of waiting. And then 3 months after we moved in with my parents, my dad passed away unexpectedly. And so we were really thankful that we had that time there, that, we got to spend those 3 months there before he passed. And then we were there with my mom afterwards. And so my husband was able to help my mom through all of the estate going through and selling and stuff like that. But we had all these months where we weren't working, and we were in this limbo land. And I'd pulled my scroll saw out of storage, out of like the moving storage. I was like, well, I have this. And my husband was like, yeah, I've been thinking, since your dad passed, and, if something happens to me, I want to leave things on for my girls. And we just it made us reevaluate, hey, what are we leaving behind, and what are we doing with what we have? And so one of his passions was fishing, and he was like, I want to make sure that my girls know how to fish, and I can teach them how to fish. And so he started making videos about fishing, and he had gotten all the equipment to kind of do that. Because my husband is such a doer. Like, he's just he's very driven person, always has to be doing stuff. So to not work for him was really tough. So when he wasn't constantly like looking for the job, he was diving into fishing and making these videos and creating content, which is going great for him now. I just told Will he's starting to do that full time now, Wendell Fishing, I'm really excited for him. But so he had the equipment. He was like, you should, now I already have a, GoPro, or I already have this. You really should try to record your scroll saw stuff and put it up. And I'm not good at social media. It's kind of weird to my personality. I feel like so Instagram, I'm not very good at keeping up at. But he was like, yeah, but YouTube is more like made for people like you. It's more like you just get to kind of share, and it's more like a teaching platform. And so, like I told you, Tom, my first videos were so bad, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I tried, I did it, and I just kept doing it because that one person out there was like, "Hey, thanks, that was helpful." And I had the time, and I wanted to be doing something. And so that's kind of when that started. And yeah, so I don't keep up with it as much as I should, but I've gotten better at it through the years. And so I really love, hey, if I'm doing this project anyway, why not just show it as a way to like live open-handedly, not I don't need to keep knowledge to myself, and it doesn't have to be broadcasted to a million people, but hey, if there's a niche group of people that wants to tune in and learn from it and find their own outlet in that way, I think especially like a lot of young moms that need something and they're like, oh, hey, if she can use power tools, maybe it's not as intimidating as it looks. And maybe I can give that a try too. Um, and yeah, if I can do it, you can do it. Like that's the thing. I'm not, a decade-long carpenter and didn't go to, school for things. It's just something that can be fun. And so that's kind of, what I try to do with my woodworking. And I actually, so here's the thing, in my woodworking, or in my videos, I never like really talk about my faith. I never come out and say, hey, by the way, I'm a Christian and blah, blah, blah. And so I was kind of thinking about that because I was like, I haven't really felt like called to do that. Like that's not the purpose, but it's also who I am. So I feel like those things would come up just organically. Anyway, all that to say, just the other day, I got a comment on a video like from a year ago. And I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something like, should really drop the religious stuff. Like you sound like a recruiter for Jesus and blah, blah, blah. And I was like scratching my head because I was like, I don't remember like I've like saying anything. And not that I'm opposed to it. I just typically, hey, this video is about how to make a frame or something, it doesn't really involve a Bible verse. So I went back and I listened to it. No, I didn't say anything. And so, but I also was like kind of excited because I was like, even when I might not be vocally, sharing things in the background, somehow Jesus was still communicated in this video. And I don't know if it's because I showed a picture of my art that sometimes has, biblical themes or something. And so anyway, I've been thinking about that, just thinking about how without being really, I don't know, loud and intentional about it, hopefully that spirit still shows up within the work itself, right? Like
it does. And
yeah.
I'll tell you, this is a compliment to you. The whole reason that I follow you is because your content is clean and it's respectable. And so in our community of scroll saw artists, there are some absolutely amazing artists that I cannot follow that are females.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name any names here, but I'll use you as a positive example. When you make a sign, for example, or a piece of scroll saw art, the art is what you're showing. There are women on Instagram that before they show the art, they want to show you their spandex pants or their way too low cut halter top or whatever to get you to try and click on to see what the scroll saw art looked like. And so I don't follow those, regardless of how good a woodworker they are. I don't think it's respectable to my wife or to my daughter for me to watch their content, even though their artwork is amazing. And I want so badly to scream out to them and say, you don't need to use your body to attract followers, your art is good enough. Let your art speak. And so you do that. Your art speaks for itself. The way you present yourself on camera and everything is just very respectable, and your artwork's amazing. And
thank you.
And so, and how you handle yourself says, I'm a woman of value. And that then portrays, because it stands out. It's like it says in Matthew 5 that we're called to be the light in the world, and the light stands out in the darkness. And there's a lot of darkness on social media and YouTube.
Yeah.
And so therefore you stand out as a light.
Yeah.
So, but you do make stuff. You made a thing recently with 3 crosses, or it was like around Easter time or something.
Yeah.
So you do make some pieces. But honestly, what originally drew me to your work was your portraits. I was just fascinated. You did some of a family, and I don't know if you made it for a client or it was your family, but it was like it was a long time ago, like them walking with their arms around each other or something. And I think that was the first one that I ever started following. I was just like fascinated by the detail and the realism of taking that photograph and turn it. And there's a couple other people that I follow that do similar style.
Yeah, those are fun.
Do you follow, since we're on the subject of scroll saw art, what are your favorite scroll saw artists, like on YouTube, Instagram?
Oh my gosh, there are so many good ones. It is, and I feel like it just keeps getting better and better all the time.
Yep.
And on that, like that's sometimes it's really hard to be like, why am I even doing this? Like I can't compare. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, like that's just like way out there, far beyond. But then but just like remembering, like, hey, like you just offer what you offer. Like that's the thing. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's, and you start somewhere. And yeah, that I think I know which portraits you were talking about. Was it like the set of 3 of them? I done that for my friend. She had asked me, and I was pretty nervous about it because I was like, I think I would love to do that, but I haven't done it before, so I don't know how it's gonna come out. But that's what's fun about scroll projects, is because they're always just like one cut at a time. You just have to take things like one cut at a time. Okay, I got this piece cut, and then make it fit with the other one, and then you can think about shaping and coloring and all the steps that come next, and you never really know how it's going to turn out until the end. So it keeps you excited, and it also keeps me driven to finish projects, because it's only worth it when it all comes together at the end. So, I love Lady Woodgood.
Yes.
Speaking of portraits, hers are
her
so fantastic.
Oh my God, the dogs that she does. Her name's Chelsea.
Is so realistic. Yeah.
See, that's what it is. Like her painting is what makes her work just skyrocket off the page, because, obviously cutting the wood is probably very similar to stuff we all do, but she does do some fine detail wood. But her painting, it's like how she gets all the little fine detail hairs on the dogs. It's just, her name is Chelsea, and she's super, super nice. And another fine example, I don't know if she's a Christian or not, but she lets her art do the talking.
Yeah.
That's
inspired me. I want to take like painting lessons, because I was like, oh man, that's so great. I would love to learn how to do that. And I feel like that would be therapeutic as well. Just like the hand painting and all the details. I've always wanted to be an artist. I'm not. I mean, not in that way, but
you are.
I think I would love that.
But who else do you follow that you in the scroll community?
Oh man, see, this is why I'm bad at social media. I don't know if it's like my introvertism that's like comes through on social media, because I can't think of their names. Like I see all this incredible work, but I'm not good at like interacting a lot on social media. So I probably can't name as many as I should be able to, because there are so many great ones. And I can even like picture their faces. I just can't tell you names unless I was on there. It's like, oh yeah, her. I'm always, looking at hers, but
I like that guy, Ike Winters.
oh yeah, because he just did the NFL pieces.
That was what a cool thing. And like none of those NFL logos are not complex, so
Right.
none of the logos were anything to make you go, "Wow!" It's all his other artwork that is
And
to
the
me
fact,
gave him the
yeah.
opportunity to make the logos, but
Right.
to have that there where all these people walk
Oh,
past,
it's so cool.
millions of people seeing your
Yeah,
artwork.
yeah.
Like he's amazing. There's another guy.
And he uses all like reclaimed materials, which is
Yes.
my favorite part because it's all just like the natural wood. You don't have to paint it or color it. And it's just all like the recycled, which I try to stick to like reclaimed materials, although I do a lot of painting. So it kind of, because then one of the time I don't find great hardwoods that are like really beautiful. So you kind of have to add to it. But yeah, I really likes how he does that.
That's very cool. There's a guy I discovered recently, and I don't know what his name is. It's Ink and Americana. And,
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know.
like his artwork is just kind of off the wall. It's like mostly musicians and stuff, but his creativity is amazing.
Well, I know. See, when you name them, I recognize the names. Oh yeah, that too. He used to be a tattoo artist, so he's an incredible just drawing artist to start with. And oh yeah, I remember when he first started because I was like, this guy's in another world of like level and skill. And because he can airbrush them, like how he paints them too is incredible.
Yeah.
So it's so cool what you can do. Like when you just start with a tool like the scroll saw, and like the possibilities there are endless. I think that's why I love it so much because you don't get bored with it. I don't get bored with it because I used to just skip around like project to project and try different things. And then once I started the scroll saw, I never left it. That was like the one thing I didn't drop because I was like, oh, you can do this with it or so much,
That's very cool. What other tools do you have in your shop? I know you have a miter saw. I've seen you. I think you have a table saw, maybe.
Yeah, I've got a table saw and a miter saw. And those are really the only big ones that I have. Just outside your basic drill and hammer. I have a very small space right now, which is kind of the problem. I'd love to get a bandsaw someday because I am always trying to like mill down wood on my table saw. And it's not super easy. Like I was like, oh, if I had a bandsaw, that's be a lot easier. But there's not a lot of space. We keep like the mower and all the, yard stuff in there. And I have a scar on my head because a few months ago, I have an air compressor, but it was sitting underneath the table saw because there's not a lot of space. And I kind of have to move around. I run into like the arms on the table saw all the time, just trying to like finagle my way to the scroll saw. Well, I bent down to turn my air compressor off. And then when I stood back up, I smacked my head right into the arm of the table saw, which it was very alarming because even though I didn't feel like a lot of pain in the moment, head injuries are like the worst with blood. So there was just blood like everywhere. And I was like, what just happened? Like, I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to leave the garage and get blood all over like the carpet. So I was yelling for my husband, but he was like on the phone with the client and he'd like thought I had like chopped my arm off or something. I don't know. I was like, I need a towel. And it was just a mess. It looked like a crime scene down there, but we've got really good first aid stuff, at least. But that's just the problem is space is just always kind of an inconvenience. So I have ideas for future expansion. I think I just have to be patient with it. But to be honest, I love trying to just figure out how to use what I have. I kind of love just like your original question, Will, of like, what tool do you use that's you're not supposed to use? Like that's everything. And actually that's why sometimes YouTube is hard because I'm like, I can't show people how I make this because it's not legit at all. Like I'm just, rigging something that nobody else should do, or I'm going to get 100 call outs for not following safety protocols or something like that. But yeah, sometimes it's fun just to kind of figure out what you can do with very little. And honestly, I feel like that's what people on YouTube, so a lot of them appreciate that because majority of people don't have large shops that they can go to either. So it's fun to see what you can do with just a few tools like that.
Yep. 100%. And honestly, like, I think having more tools restricts your creativity. Because like when you don't have technically the proper tool to do the job, but you need to do the job, then you take what you have, you're like, okay, how can I make a jig? How can I make this work? I think that's why I like the table saw so much, because you can build a
really
jig,
versatile.
do just about anything on the table saw.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, I always kind of I was thinking about how, like, the difference between cooking and baking. Like with baking, you got to be really precise and you got to measure everything. And then cooking is more like just throw things together and you see what you got and you kind of experiment. And I feel like I'm more of a cook of the woodworking world, where like carpentry would be more of like your baking and your precision and maybe using the finer tools, and mine's just like don't die on all the mess out there and just try to find what you can and throw it together and see what works.
So like when you're doing the portraits, and the other thing you do really cool, you've done like some buildings, but like what tool do you use, a Dremel, or what brand tool do you use for shaping?
Yeah, I have just a Dremel. And then what I did, because it was really heavy to hold for shaping, but they make like a Dremel shaft. It's just like a real skinnier one that you can plug into your Dremel, just so you can kind of more like a marker ability. It's still heavy, but it's a lot easier to use. So yeah, I just do all the shaping with the Dremel, which is also fun. I just have to make sure I wear a mask because I had to have significant sinus surgery at the end of 2024, which is, probably other things contributed, but I was like, I got to be really careful with that dust, especially with the shaping. It goes everywhere. So I'm trying to be better about dust collection. It's not my strength, but I'm trying. I've got the hose there to suck it all up, and yeah. But those are really... Oh, go ahead, Will. Sorry.
I was just saying, looking at your Instagram, I see a horse. Did you recently get rid of a horse, or were you a horse person?
That was my friend. So she had to sell a horse. And so another friend of ours asked, hey, if I, can you take this picture and make it for her? So that was a picture of her on her horse.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And honestly, it's just, you print out the picture and you cut one piece at a time. It's just like eating an elephant. That's how you do it, and think through how they go together. And yeah, I enjoy those. I really, it's been really great to be in the shop, because I think what I love about it is that you kind of get to just zen out a little bit. When you're scrolling, it doesn't take a lot of like mental concentration for me or anything like that. So it's something that just feels easy. And then also I can put on my headphones and just listen to the podcasts, listen to the music. And that is so relaxing to me. So to be able to do that most days is really just like my favorite time of the day, to have like the stack of things to cut today. And then I just, get to put on the mask and the headphones. I don't like the mask because it's heavy, but the headphone parts is good. And I'm really enjoying it.
You sound like my wife. She, doing the stained glass stuff. Like you said, she, nap times, she's out there. Now our son is in preschool, be going to kindergarten this fall. Our daughter's just 2, so she still does naps. And so, but right now my wife is out there in her studio doing some
Yeah.
glass stuff. And it's funny too, because like you said about, the getting the commissions or whatever, like she loves a challenge, and
Mhm.
she'll go out there and get in her zone. And the creative people, I wouldn't consider myself a creative. I'm really analytical. Now, yes,
Mm.
I play music and stuff, but I can't like draw, I can't conceptualize things like that. But yeah, for her to get out in the studio and just figure out a design and start cutting and grinding glass is like her zen.
Yeah, that's so great. I was like, I could have gone that way. Like, I would love to learn that. If if you guys lived closer, I'd be like, can we trade skills? Can you teach me this? I can teach
What's
you
funny
that.
is we plan on maybe next year building a shop. Like right now, I'm in the 2-car garage with the wood shop, and then my wife, we have a sunroom, and we built a studio back there. But we want to build a shop slash barn, nice, thing. Every craft fair she goes to, if she doesn't get a dozen, do you teach classes? Do you teach classes?
Hey, YouTube. Seriously.
I,
Use
you
your
know that
iPhone.
I know that's she did the Instagram thing, and she doesn't do too much into it, but she's like, I've intentionally over the years, I don't do much with Instagram anymore. I've intentionally tried to make a reel that would be viral, or like just to try to get, the views or whatever. And she tries to do nothing and gets a 500,000 views on a reel. I'm like, and it's just her grinding glass. Like
Yeah.
people find that like ASMR kind of
Yes.
stuff. I don't know.
That's
But
funny.
that's fun. So what do you got going on in the shop right now?
Right now, so I mentioned I started with book safes at the beginning of this, and then I hadn't made them for a decade. I just started making them again. And I think, well, I mentioned that my family's kind of going through a transition right now with my husband's jumping to full-time content creation. And that's a whole long story. I'm so excited for him. So I'm trying to be more intentional with earning. But where before it was kind of more of like a hobby thing for me. Of course, now that my girls are in school, I've slowly kind of increased that more significantly. But so I have a whole stack of book safes because those are something that historically have sold well for me. So I'm like, well, let's start doing that again. There's something I can like rely on. But then I also have like, I've got one anniversary sign, and then I have as a gift, actually my cousin's getting married next month, so I've got like a wedding sign designed to make for her, and I love doing that. Those are like my favorite things, where I love gifts because then you have like creative freedom, and no one's going to be upset because they're not paying you for something. So they can't offer anything but gratitude, right? So it takes the pressure off, and then you just get to kind of make what you want but still have purpose in it, which is something that always drives me. And so I love making gifts. So I'm excited to start that one when I can. So yeah, books and a couple signs.
It's funny to talk about wedding gifts that I've talked about on the podcast. 2024, we had 4 weddings to attend. And that's like, it's expensive. Like,
Yes, yeah.
because if I give cash, and this is just a personal thing, my minimum is $100. Like
Hmm.
and my wife and I are like, man, we got private school starting. This is expensive. She's like, well, why don't you make them like cutting board, like charcuterie boards with, I
Hmm.
have a laser engraver and engrave their name. And so that's what I did. I made the same thing for all 4 weddings, and
Yes,
they loved them. It's like,
absolutely.
it's personalized for me. I got to get out in the shop and do something. And it didn't really cost me anything because I get most of my lumber for free, and it's just time out the shop. And so,
Yeah, that's the same
um,
with teacher appreciation gifts, which is also coming up.
yeah,
So
yeah.
making those too. And yeah, it definitely helps.
Awesome. Tom, what about you? What you got going on?
Yeah, got a sign I'm working on, scroll saw sign. I got all the scroll saw parts cut out this weekend, and I actually had some shop time because on Saturday, man, we got a storm coming through here. I planned on being out on the farm, and I needed to get that sign done. I was like, well, this works out really well. Can't go out there. It's raining, windy, and so I got all the parts cut out. I just got to make the backer and the frame, but looking really good. I'm excited about this one. It's a cool looking design.
Neat.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so it'll probably be. I'm gonna be intentional and post it on Instagram. I haven't posted anything on Instagram in a year.
I was gonna say I haven't seen anything that you've made lately with this girl saw, so I look forward to seeing it.
To be honest, I haven't had much shop time the last year because of some stuff we went through with our house. And long story short, we hired a builder to build us a house. He didn't do it correctly, and we were having water issues, and we gave him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and it finally became clear that he just wasn't going to fix it. And so we had to get an attorney involved, and in order to pay for the attorney and then hire an engineer, and it cost an arm and a leg.
Gosh.
So wood shop is a hobby for me. I make my living installing graphics, and so I've just had to work my butt off the last year to pay for I got a kid in college, and then that, and so I haven't really had much wood shop time, so it's kind of felt good. I've had more time in this weekend than I've had in a while, so it was just, like you said, it's very therapeutic to get out there, throw my headphones on, and just scroll. Like, listen to a podcast or some praise and worship music, and man, I'm in my zone. Yep.
And tell your wife, Will, her time is coming. It feels like a long time up until then, but then she'll be able to kind of do that more often.
I hail all women out there. You guys can multitask. Like, I don't know. My wife can get so much done throughout a day while I'm at work. It's just it's insane to me. And so, but she's done really well. The Etsy thing, she's done really well on Etsy because there are a lot of stained glass things, but she's killed it over there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She'll usually around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, she'll do a ton of sales, but yeah, so I still haven't done any woodworking, so that's that. Well, now the weather's broke and we're outside. Like we're outside right up until I had to get the kids showers in bed, and so, but actually for the winners of our podcast giveaway, your Bibles are on their way. I sent them out today. So I have been doing that, messing around with rebinding Bibles and whatnot. And so that's kind of become my new thing. Like I just enjoy working with the Bibles and leather, and you're doing something that's going to last generation, kind of like making a woodworking piece, but something so much more intimate about God's word. And so, haven't been doing too much out in the shop. Oh, I do have a story though. This kind of relates to woodworking, not really. On our house, you've got garage where my shop is at, and then you walk through the garage into the laundry room, and then off the side of the laundry room is a closet. It's like I think it's 7x5, like a 7x5 kind of closet. And when we bought the house, the water heater was in that room, and we moved it out. We put a new one in and moved it out into the garage. And that room's kind of been unfinished. And so my wife, for the last 2 years, I'd like to get that. It's a place where we could store stuff and have a pantry and whatnot. And so I decided, you know what? I'm finally going to get after that. And so I started ripping the floor out of there to put new flooring down and going to do the thing. And well, I thought my plumber had told me that the water line that ran to that water heater that was there was now dead. I thought that's what he told me. I think I must have misheard him, because I found out real quick that it wasn't dead. And I had water going everywhere.
Oh no.
And I had to turn we live out in the country, so I had to turn the well off and get the water to stop flowing. And it wouldn't stop flowing because there's so much back pressure. So I had to go open up the tub in the kitchen sink to get the back pressure off, and then I don't have any plumbing tools. I mean, I've got a few things. So I called my father-in-law. He came over and we sweated a cap and fixed it all up. And basically now I'm gutting that whole room. It's going to go down to studs
Oof.
and taking the floor out. I'm going to put a whole new subfloor in because now it's, we could see after we ripped it up, like, oh, there's a lot more damage here from that old water heater and stuff. So yeah, so that was fun. Started messing with that, and that's just one more thing on the list of things that need done.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, so eventually I need to get back out in the shop. And I was thinking the other day, I haven't done anything with my wood finish or promoted it or done anything. I've just been so busy, that's kind of like a hobby for me as well. I've got like 400 hobbies and one thing that makes me money. Luckily it's a good job. It makes good money, but I don't, need to focus on something specific, I guess, as is everything in life. ADHD. So
I understand.
awesome. Yeah. So Danielle, where can people find you at on the Instagram and YouTube and stuff?
Yeah, I'm Wendell Woodworks. So if you just search that, I think that's my handle on everything: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
I didn't realize you had YouTube, so you have a new follower, and your husband has a new follower as well.
Yeah, Wendell Fishing. Check that out if you like fishing, for sure.
So what type does he fly fish or traditional bait caster?
Mostly kayak fishing for bass.
Okay.
So, and he's doing a series on going back to just like the basics for beginners. Because he gets asked all the time, hey, I want to take my kid fishing. I haven't been for decades. How do I get started? So just kind of, let's just go back to like, the basics of how to get started. Because that's, and probably something I want to do again with the scroll saw. Like, let's go back to the beginning. How does somebody get started who wants to do that? So
you have some great videos, some of your older ones, like on blade selection, and like you did one a long time ago that really broke down that kind of, what blade you used, when type thing. I can't remember what else was on the video. It's ages ago I watched it.
I don't remember either, so I hope it was helpful.
So I'm going to give you a video you need to make. And so, like a very detailed on taking a photograph and then how you go about the whole portrait from converting the photograph.
I have that.
You have one, but
I have a couple. Maybe I'll send you the first one. Maybe it was.
I've watched everything on your YouTube channel, so I've already seen them. But do some more of those. They're really good.
Yeah,
I enjoy those. I have yet to do a portrait. And I think it's like just intimidating to me. I don't, and where my weakness is, I think, is really on visualizing, because obviously you're taking a photograph, you're not scroll sawing every hair on the head. You know? It's kind of the same thing like Chelsea does with the dogs. I can't envision in my head how to break the dog's face apart like she does into wood segments, because then where she really gets the detail is how she cuts them, shapes them, and then paints them. Yeah. And I'm not a paint artist, and but I would love to do one of those dogs as well.
Well, you can still do a dog just more simply,
I know. I'd be embarrassed to show anybody the dog that I do compared to Chelsea's work. It's like, man.
But do it anyway. Hey, that's everyone feels that, though. That's the thing, and you just gotta make what you make.
But do some more portraits. Your portraits are awesome. So
all right, well, thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. And it's awesome. Out of our guests, we've mainly had guys, and we've had some females. So. It's awesome.
Listen, I think just 2 before me. That's why I told my husband, I think I'm only the third.
We've had Deandra,
I think
the other scroll.
Oh, okay. I must have missed one. I got to go back then.
Yeah. What's the lady that does scroll saw out on the West Coast? She's a dentist.
Oh, yeah. You're the 5th girl. Yeah. So I
must miss hers too.
Ty from Ty's Corner.
Ty's Corner.
And then, of course, we had
Leah Parker.
Leah Parker was the first lady. And then we had work boots and glasses.
Deandra,
and then we had hashtag carpenter. I'm having a brain.
Oh, and then we had Julie.
Oh, yeah.
Can't forget Julie.
Yeah. Man, so you're number 6. We've had more women than we... Man, now I'm thinking, who did we leave out? And we do have some other ladies on the books, but yeah, I'm as excited to get you on here, though. So,
I really appreciate the offer. Yeah, like I said, when I'm in the shop, I just consume podcasts. So, you guys are on the follow list for sure.
So there is a scroll saw artist that is a Christian, and I've sent her a message, but she's not replied. Pearl and Pine. Do you follow her?
Yes, I do.
Do you know her personally?
I do not know her personally.
Okay. I asked Leah, did she know her personally? She's like, I know her, but not like that close. Because I sent her a message, but she hadn't replied back.
It might have been blocked or in that like requested side.
Well, that's true.
But she's very bold. Like you watch her videos, and she'll be wearing T-shirts that says "I love Jesus," and
and she has great music choices for her reels. I noticed too.
Yeah,
so,
but she's a really good scroll saw artist as well. I'm not drawing a blank on what her name is, but yeah. Anyway, well, thank you for coming on and sharing. We appreciate it, and stay in touch.
All right. Thanks, guys. It was really good to meet you.
Yeah. Well, until next week, I'm Will from Flat Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.